I truly just believe like the magic happens in the moment. I didn't have a lot, I think, of like individuality. And so when I left that space, it was a whole opening of like, oh my God, who am I? I remember sitting there and just saying out loud, like, I have to fully leave. Otherwise, I will always be 1 foot in and 1 foot out. Your typical self would just be like, whatever, just keep walking. Your intuitive self goes, let's pause and I'm going to go look. It's literally just curiosity that you actually act on. That's what I feel like intuition is. I really believe you'll only really fully go into something if you don't have a plan B. You cannot have a plan B, otherwise you're always going to end up with plan B. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I wanted. I was not living a life that was in alignment with who I was. And it was soul-sucking. Put yourself in new situations. That is always what gets me out of my small world and my small mindset. Go talk to people. Put the book down. Go hug your friends.
Maddy, thank you so much for taking the time out here today to travel 12 minutes.
It was,
down south.
12 minutes. Might have been 11, actually.
Nice. Would you mind just introducing yourself?
Absolutely. You text me and you're like, if you want to like prepare an intro, and I was like, oh gosh, I'm not a preparer. I will do. I'm like such a on the fly person. Yeah, my name's Maddy Garrett. I live here in Denver, Colorado. I am an entrepreneur, a founder, a creative. I have started a few businesses throughout my 27 years of life. And currently I am a full-time UGC creator and coach. I have a adventure pup, Cedar, who I love very much. I have a van. I do part-time van life. And I also have a podcast. So I love doing podcasting. I'm stoked to be here.
Well, thank you so much for that introduction. So I'm also an off the cuff dude. Like I don't like planning for anything.
And I've had to learn to over the years, because running a business, obviously there's so much you do have to prep and plan and like prepare for. But I truly just believe like the magic happens in the moment, like almost always. And I'm a very in the moment person. I am driven by like spontaneity and creativity. And that's just like so hard to replicate when you are like so plan. So yeah.
I could not agree with that more. I think it's funny talking to people about like travel. People are, well, they'll say, Anthony, I can't believe you like moved somewhere and didn't like have plans, or like, how do you do it without an itinerary? I'm like, how does one travel with an itinerary? Like that to me is kind of bonkers. Have you always been that way?
I think so.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like, honestly, I hardly remember so much of my childhood. It's like hard to remember sometimes, like what I was like as a child. But, well, it's interesting because growing up, I cared so much about like my grades and like being good at stuff and kind of just fitting in and falling into line. So very different from how I am now.
Yeah.
Very different. But I was a straight A student my whole life, like very good in school. I was a very hard worker. And I think that maybe makes sense in terms of like, oh, you're a hard worker, now you own businesses. That makes sense. But now I don't know. I just don't care about shit like that. And so it's funny that I used to be so stickler about like, I have to do all my homework. I have to get straight A's. I have to like be perfect. Now I'm like, oh my God, like that. I can't believe I was like that.
Yes. I feel the same way. It's like I was also just a nerd. Like, I followed the plan that, education and university set for me. And I was like, okay, this is it. You said fuck normal on your website. That's like in big letters. So there's clearly a shift that occurred from when you are in, school and making straight A's and you're like, I want to be the best, but also like, it's not just, I think you still clearly have like a strive to be the best version of yourself, but the best version of yourself now is something that's sort of unique that you've created. So when did that shift? Was there a moment, or do you think it was just over time? Kind of paint us a picture.
Ooh, Yeah, it was a long journey for sure. So, a little background. I grew up in Orange County, California, and that's considered like the red bubble of California. So I grew up very conservative and I was in like a conservative religious household. And so that like shaped a lot of who I was as a kid. So, I was like very by the book, very like followed the rules, and again just like fell into what was normal. And I went to a religious university. It wasn't until kind of my senior year that I started deconstructing some of the beliefs that I grew up with and just the communities I surrounded myself with. And that I think was a huge part of the shift for me, was just kind of coming out of that lifestyle and growing up that way, and kind of deconstructing all of that and realizing I just didn't quite believe or like fall in line with the way that I grew up. And truly, like I was talking to someone about this the other day, like I just didn't know who I was when I was younger and when I was super religious, because there were rules and there were things that I was supposed to do and a person I was supposed to be. And I was really good at doing that and being that. And I didn't have a lot, I think, of like individuality. And so when I left that space, it was a whole opening of like, oh my God, who am I? Who am I? I had to find myself. I had to rediscover that. And it's been a long journey. Like it was definitely multiple years of me just trying things and kind of discovering different parts of my personality. And a lot of that led to just being like, oh, like I do not fit in these boxes that I was like putting myself in when I was younger. So yeah, it was a journey.
Yeah, and it's funny because I feel like I'm just listening to like the female voice in my head. Like it's just like
That's funny.
such a similar story to mine.
Really?
Yes, because like it's funny. I've interviewed a good amount of people who are taking a different path. Doing something. At the time of this recording, I still don't even have a name for this show yet. It'll come to me. But it's funny. Like there's a there's kind of a common thread in that there's most of the creatives that I've had on the show, most of the people that I've interviewed just always felt like the traditional path wasn't theirs.
Yeah.
And for me and for you, it came so easy.
Yeah.
It was so easy to just like I mean, obviously it took, work in school to get A's and things of that nature, but like it wasn't hard to like encourage yourself and like get over the hump to do your homework, to study, to perform well academically and things of that nature. You touched on feeling like you didn't understand your true identity and you were kind of just living almost someone else's life is kind of what it sounds like. Was there a moment, like a singular moment where you had the realization of, fuck, like, I don't know who I am?
I don't know that there was a single moment. I feel like the one moment I kind of go back to sometimes is I just remember sitting in my car, and this was right after I had graduated college. And I had this like internal battle of I grew up religious, believing in God, like following all these things, and I don't know quite what I believe now and if I want to be in that community. And so I remember sitting there and just saying out loud, like, I have to fully leave. Otherwise, I will always be 1 foot in and 1 foot out. Like, I'll
Mm.
always have 1 foot in, like, religion and this community that I grew up with and, all of that. And then 1 foot in, like, kind of exploring myself or, like, something else. And I was like, I have to fully get out. Like, and back then, I was like, and I'll probably come back. Like, that's what I thought. I was like, you know what? Like, it's cool if I leave. And then if I decide to come back, if the journey brings me back, it'll bring me back. But I cannot do things half-ass. That is not who I am. It's not how I am. And so the thought of like being in this in between, I was like, I cannot do it. So I have to leave. And that was so scary to be like, I no longer call myself a Christian. I literally sat there, I had to say it out loud, and I was like, this feels so wrong. Like, this feels so crazy, but like, I know that I have to do it and just see what life looks like on the other side of this. Otherwise, I will always wonder?
I know very well. Yes, that again, I think that just like hits the nail on the head for, kind of what I feel like is core to me. Like it's hard to half-ass things.
Yeah.
Like when I wanted to change, I decided to move to the farthest possible place from the US. Like, just I need a big change.
Where did you go?
Australia.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Literally Perth is the furthest, like, city, maybe not the furthest place, but, like, the furthest, like, city, from Atlanta, from, like, where I grew up.
No
And
way.
I didn't realize that until I was out there, and I was like, "Damn, there's probably a reason why I chose it." I
Yeah.
just needed to go to the complete opposite side of the world.
Wow.
Yeah. Um, when I can't believe I'm asking this question. When were you born?
Like what year?
No, like, what's your
Oh, you want to
sign?
know
Yeah.
my star sign? I'm obsessed with it. I am an Aries.
Okay.
Yeah.
Uh,
I was born in April 15th, tax day, actually.
what a fun
I know,
birthday.
right? So fun. Yeah. Aries sun, Sagittarius moon, Virgo rising. Literally, I look at my chart and I'm like, yeah, that all makes sense.
Is Aries known for being, like, pretty against the grain and independent?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Aries are the first sign of the zodiac. And so we are the initiators, we're the fire starters.
Oh, good to
Yeah.
know.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is all, like, relatively new to me, but
What's your sign?
I'm an Aquarius.
Oh. I fucking love Aquarius people like so much.
Yeah? Why is that?
I just vibe with them so I don't know. I just love Aquarius energy. One of my exes was an Aquarius. Actually, no, like 3 of my exes have been Aquarius, and several of my friends Aquarius. Aquarius are so unique, and I think they just love being unique.
100%.
And I love that because they just like fully step into their personality. And I'm like, yes, I'm obsessed with you. Like Aquarius teach me to not be afraid of like who I am and my authenticity.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
Okay. I hope I can bring some of that to the table. So when you made this mental shift, going back to, like, the shift from more traditional path, I think on your website you talked a little bit as well about, like, you had, like, a 9 to 5 and then you said, "Fuck that.
Yeah.
I'm done." What sort of resistance were you met when you made that shift? Potentially, like, resistance in any form, external, internal, just broadly speaking.
Yeah. I feel like I'm pretty lucky where I didn't have a ton of external resistance to it, honestly. I think my parents were definitely a little like, what are you doing when I quit my job? But they also know me and they know that like I just figure shit out and like I'm going to make it work. I'm very self-sufficient. I'm independent. Like I'm a hard worker and my parents have always believed in me and I'm like very, very lucky for that. I think honestly the scariest part was just not having a backup plan. Like I quit my job and I didn't have anything. And I remember I quit my job and I had like 2 weeks left and I just went on Upwork and I was like, all right, I'm going to find like freelance copywriting jobs. And that's what I did. And so I just went on and I applied to a bunch of stuff. I got a few copywriting clients and that kind of held me over for the next like 6 months as I just figured out what I was doing. But I think that was the hardest part, just not having a backup plan. Because again, I grew up very like, this is my path, this is what I'm doing. And then just kind of walking away from that was terrifying.
Yeah. But, it's funny about that. That's also probably the biggest driver towards what made you actually succeed.
Yeah.
Which kind of goes back to the all or nothing thing.
I always tell people that. I'm like, yes, I'm very much an all or nothing person. And I really believe I and a lot of other people, you'll only really fully like go into something if you don't have a plan B.
Yeah.
Like you cannot have a plan B. Otherwise, you're always going to end up with plan B. It's like you have to just have plan A because plan B is easier. And so like you're always going to fall back into that, even just subconsciously. Yeah.
Wow. That's a powerful statement.
Well, it's like it's so based in neuroscience too, because our brains are wired to do what's comfortable. We are not wired to step out of our comfort zone. We're not wired to chase things that like don't feel comfortable. And so even if we really want plan A. Plan A is the life we want so bad, but plan B is the life that we know. And so we're always going to fall back to that if we don't like make plan A the only option. Because our brain literally is wired to be like, okay, great. If plan B is there, we're doing plan B.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like that's a big reason why I think just the striving for discomfort, striving for something greater is imperative because you're not gonna stumble upon that, right? Like,
Mm.
it's not like that's the fallback or the de facto, is to find, something difficult, something challenging, find yourself in a foreign country, not knowing the language.
Mm.
Like, that's not something you fall into, that's something you force yourself into.
Right.
And I think there's a lot of people today who, myself included a couple years ago, who were just terrified of like the unknown. And then something clicked and it made me want the unknown. It made me
Yeah.
desire it. And then now I'm kind of in a place where like there's so much comfort that I feel in this apartment and living in Denver and having like a homestead that I'm like, I actually don't think I want this. I do, like, on a deep, like,
Yeah.
evolutionary level, like, I seek comfort, but in terms of the larger goals that I have for myself, like, I can't achieve what I want if I continue to place myself in places of comfort and ease. Yeah,
I totally agree. Like, whenever you get comfortable, you just kind of stop growing,
100%.
and that can be hard. I definitely wrestle with that too. Like, I've been a nomad for many, many years, and have lived in Denver now for a year. And I just re-signed my lease here for another year. And I had this like internal battle, like, oh, I don't know if I should stay here. I was like, maybe want to go somewhere else. And I was just like, it's okay. Like, you can stay put. You can have this sense of stability while also having other areas of your life where you're still like exploring and doing new things. And so I've very intentionally been like, okay, I'm staying in Denver and I'm going to put myself into new situations and rooms and meeting new people and like traveling new places. So like I signed up for like a flag football league.
Right.
And I was just like, you know what? Like we just gotta try new things, kind of get out of my comfort zone in different ways, instead of just like being like, I have to move again, because I do that a lot.
Yeah. This podcast is just teaching me a lot about myself.
I love that.
And we're gonna dig into this a little bit more because it don't like it seems antithetical. You having a place, having a homestead, right? And then like traveling aside that almost seems pretty antithetical to the like go balls to the wall, have no plan B. It almost seems like your home is your sort of fallback, right? And then your travels is like your plan A. Is that the wrong way of thinking? Am I
Mm.
perceiving it incorrectly?
I think it just depends what your dream is.
Mm,
Like I know that my end goal, my dream is to like have a home and to own property and to travel from there. So like for what I have right now, that feels very similar to this, where it's like I have a home base, I've got a homestead, I can travel from there. So I'm just like this very much fits into the reality that I want in my future anyway. And I do love travel. Also, I did full-time travel for a while and I was like, okay, I don't think this is for me. Like I'm exhausted, I'm burnt out, I need some sort of stability. But I think like for me, having a home base and being able to travel whenever I want, that is like my dream. That's the best of both worlds for me.
gotcha. What does the cadence look like? In other words,
Mm,
like how long do you plan to travel
mm.
versus stay home?
Yeah. I feel like I'm home probably half the time.
And when you're traveling, does that mean, a week on, week off? Does it mean a month
Mm.
on, a month off? Does it mean 3 months, 3, 6, 6? What does that look like?
Yeah, it's always different.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's always different. Sometimes I'll just be gone for a week or 2 weeks, a weekend, or like this winter, I'm probably going to leave for 2 months. I was just gone for 5 weeks. I got back like 3 days ago. So
Yeah, I saw your story and I was like, is
yeah,
Maddie gonna make it?
I know. Yeah, so it's always different. And I think I like that because, again, it doesn't feel like routine or I'm like, okay, every December through February, I'm gone and I do this. I'm like, no, like I don't want to have a plan like that.
Right.
I just want it to be like, I don't know, I have my home base, but I travel when I want.
Do you feel like, maybe I'll give a little background. I think one of the things that I've wrestled with is sort of growing up in like and being surrounded by like a vacation culture. And like what I
Yeah,
mean by a vacation culture is you have your life that you more or less hate, and then you fuck off for a week and drink on the beach until you're blacked out every day. And then you sort of like hate going back home and you need the vacation from the vacation.
right.
Like that's obviously a like extreme case. Like I'm using hyperbole intentionally,
Mm.
but is there any other way to use hyper?
No.
That's redundant. But anyway, the point is, I think that that's kind of how I perceive travel until I started to do solo travel. And that's when I started to realize, like, partly you just sort of organically fall into the type of traveling that you like because it just unfolds, right? But part of it is because, like, you recognize the agency you have and you realize, oh shit, I can decide how I spend my time. In that exploration, I've noticed a subtle increase in duration of stay. And like a week is not enough because I feel very rushed. Maybe a year was long. I loved the year. Like, I want to live abroad again for another year. I don't feel like that, or more. I don't think it's too long. But I think the fast travel is really just kind of like not my thing. So
I hate it too.
okay, so how do you, like, if you go for a week or, one of the shorter durations, how do you feel like you're able to break out of that, like, fast travel check boxes type of mentality when you're constrained by, 5, 6, 7 days in a place?
Yeah. I feel like I have, I don't know. I feel like people will be like, I disagree or I hate the way that you travel. But when I travel somewhere, I like do not really do that much. And that might sound weird.
No, I think that's the best way to do it. That's what you're supposed to do.
Like so I just went to Portugal and for a week, 7 days, I went to a small surf town. I stayed at a hostel there and I had no plans.
Sick.
Literally zero plans. And the only thing I wanted to do was just like, I'm gonna work a bit while I'm there. I'm gonna walk around, go to some coffee shops. I'm gonna sit on the beach and I'm gonna meet some people. And that was the only plan I had. And like, I think people are like, you went to Portugal and that's what you did. Like, I've never been to Portugal before and it was my first time. And I literally basically just spent my whole time in this tiny town. It is a tiny town. It's called Peniche and it's like a little subsection of Peniche called Baleal. Tiny town.
Cool.
And like, it's not, I don't know, like most Americans don't even know of it. And so people would be like, why did you do that? And I'm like, cause that's just how I enjoy traveling. I don't care about seeing a ton of stuff. I don't care about doing touristy things. I just want to go somewhere new, put myself in a different environment. And so I think I just view travel really differently because I'm really just there to like live my life. And I'm still like working. I'm still just doing whatever I do, but I just happen to be in a new place. And like, that's literally just how I see it. And so even if I'm somewhere for a week, it doesn't matter because I just have that slow mindset of like, I don't have to see everything. I don't have to do anything. And also knowing that comes with the privilege of me being like, I can come back here if I want.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that because you're probably spot on that. Most people hear them like, you don't have an itinerary.
Yeah.
Like you're not going to, like a Lisbon and checking out like the art and the city. It's like, no.
Yeah.
Because I think when you go to a place and you're just, checking off boxes or trying to, really what you're doing is you're just maintaining stimulation.
Yeah.
And when you maintain that stimulation, you sort of remove your energetic and emotional connection to the place. And so you don't really get a feel for like, what is it like to be here? And realistically, like when you go to a place, like I think two things. Firstly, like if you really enjoy your life, you shouldn't want to take a vacation from it. Right. Like you shouldn't feel like pressure to, oh, I have 3 days. I'm going to go, fuck off for 3 days and not do any work. It's like, well, I mean, I don't know. Like I love bringing my laptop and doing some development stuff because it's a hell of a lot better to do that with a beach view in a foreign country than it is, than it is like, I loved working in Costa Rica.
Yeah.
Bummer. There's fucking monkeys and parrots and these like all the animals are just bopping around in the jungle and I'm working.
And you're like, wow, I'm so lucky.
Yeah, 100%. So I think that's amazing. But yeah, that is. I think it's good to just hear like, just have like the conviction, the confidence to like go to a place and just like be yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree. Like for my birthday this year, I took a solo trip to Mexico. I went to Sayulita, obsessed. I want to go back this winter, but for the first week I was there, I like stayed at a hostel in town, met a ton of people, had so much fun. And then for the second week, I went to kind of like a nicer like boutique resort kind of thing. And it was very quiet. It was a small boutique hotel. And everybody there was just like relaxing on vacation. And the whole time I was working. But I like very intentionally said it that way because I was like, I actually love being in places like this and working because it like, first of all, just like calms my nervous system.
Yes.
So I actually have a space to be like, I can actually like think and like do creative work. Whereas at home, I feel just very like scattered and I don't know, just more, what's the right word? Like structured, logical. I don't know. When I'm traveling, I'm like so much more creative, free spirited. And so that translates really well into my work. So I like traveling to places like that and working. And I literally was so happy. I stayed there for like 6 days and I was like just doing creative work and like coming up with ideas for my business and all this stuff the whole time I was there. Most people would look at that and be like, you're going to this resort and like you're working the whole time. Like, what are you doing? But I'm like, no, like that's why I went because I knew it would make me feel a certain way that translates to my work so well. And it's just to say like travel looks different for everybody. Work looks different for everybody. There's no right or wrong. It's just like figuring out what works for you and what you like.
100%. And I think the work looks different for everybody. That's something that I think is also like nowadays that's new.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned when your parents were a little afraid because you didn't have like a plan B and like you moved away from this like real job,
Yeah.
to like I don't know. It's funny when people ask me what I do. I'm like, oh, I don't know. Like today, I don't know. Did you work? So asked me the other day, like, did you work today? I'm like, define work. Like, does that mean I logged into Slack? I think I responded to a couple of Slacks, and
Yeah.
it's like, but I think also you talk about working sort of part time, and I think that's sort of an interesting concept in and of itself. Because I think when I read that and I saw that on your website, I think we may have talked about it before. But like the idea of working like part time versus full time, like what does that mean? I guess it means like you're not putting in 40 hours every single week.
Mhm.
But I think that comes down to like how do you work best, right? Like if you feel, and it's funny, like full time work is not it's interesting because that concept is not defined by output. It's defined by input, right? So like if
Right.
someone works
Yeah.
for 8 hours a day for 5 days a week, then that's seen as a full-time worker. But if their output is similar or less than someone who works for, 8 hours 1 day a week, it's
Mhm.
like, well, does that mean that one person who worked less but had far more output is actually a part-time worker?
Literally.
It's just it's interesting. Like it seems like the incentives aren't aligned. The incentives are
Mhm.
not so much about the output, so much about like the actual quality of the work and caliber of the work, but instead
Mhm.
it's like you're a machine and it's your job to work this many hours, clock in, clock out, and if you're not doing it, you're failing.
Oh, I could talk about this forever. No, literally, like that's so much of what is fucking wrong with
Yeah.
corporate. Because it's just like so many of my friends have bullshit remote jobs. They work 2 hours a day, 3 hours a day, and I'm just like, this is what's wrong with our economy. Like, are you kidding me? What do you mean? Like, they could be hiring half as many people as they're hiring. Like, what are we doing? And it literally makes me afraid as a business owner to hire people.
Mm,
Because I'm like, people have this expectation of, oh, I can just bullshit my job. And I get it as someone who like didn't like my 9 to 5, didn't like working for other people. Trust me, I get it. But it's like, how can we find things that we're actually passionate about and like actually put in like really intentional work? And like, I would love to own a company and like hire people where it's like we're all genuinely really stoked on what we're doing. And we don't have to like clock in, clock out, have an 8 hour workday. It's like, these are our objectives for the month.
yeah.
Let's like get these done as a team and like put in the work to get there. If we need more people, let's hire more people to do that. But like, I just think oh my God, it's the way the corporate is structured literally drives me insane. Right now, I'm working on this project for a big brand, and they have me on weekly calls with so many different people from like different agencies and teams and companies. Like, it is crazy. We're on this call and there's like 10 of us, and I'm like, why is everybody in this room right now?
Mm.
Like, we do not need this many people on this project. Literally, what is happening? I'm like, it just blows my mind to be like, companies are spending so much money on bullshit every day. Anyway, that was a rant. Just makes me mad.
Well, I get it. I mean, it came up in conversation yesterday with like AI, because like it's like, shouldn't technology exist to make our lives as humans like easier?
Right.
And what does that mean? Well, AI doesn't exist to make life easier. It exists to make life more productive, right? So like the output, if your output is, 10x, then theoretically you should be able to, with the same input, achieve a 10x output. So that means, great, what took me 10 hours to do now takes me 1 hour to do.
Right.
But now it's great. What took you 10 hours to do takes you 1 hour to do. So now we expect you to have 100 hours, of work done in the same 10-hour period of time. And so I feel like we're just running into this recursive loop of like, all right, more productivity means more output. More output doesn't actually save you time, and then that's what you talked about meetings. And I mean, back when I had more of a corporate role, there were definitely meetings I didn't need to be on, but I was like, I'm just going to fill my calendar. So optics, it looks like I'm doing stuff, like it honestly, it's just kind of entertaining, especially like working remote jobs to like, hop in a call. So, but is that really like the best use of that time? Could that hour in the meeting, first of all, am I value additive to the conversation? Probably not. If anything, like not my presence, but like, I don't know if it's value detractive to have, I think it could be more value detractive to have unnecessary players in a call than value additive to have extra heads in the call, right?
Yeah.
Like if anything, it's just going to add more confusion. It's going to be a bunch of people who don't even know like what they're there for. And so they're just confused and they're asking stupid questions, or maybe they're asking good questions, but it's just not irrelevant for their work. Yeah. And then so instead it's like, well, what if we were to use those, that hour of that meeting and gave someone agency to do something that they feel is productive, or do something that they feel is perhaps distracting, but distracting in a way that helps them be more productive later, right? It's like if you are struggling to, let's say you're, what are some of your favorite creative hobbies, creative outlets?
That's a good question.
This wasn't supposed to be the hard
I
question.
know. I'm like, wait, why does this feel like a hard question? Creative outlet, I think for me, I don't know, like last winter I took up crocheting.
Oh,
that
sick.
was really fun. Yeah.
Sick.
So like stuff like that where it's just like kind of pick up new hobby.
Crafty stuff.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's fun.
So like I think so like if you're crocheting, right, and you get to a point when you're just like frustrated and you're just like, fuck, I am so tired. These hooks are driving me fucking, they're hooks, right? Is that what it's called? Yeah. Driving me fucking crazy. Like in that moment, I think if you were to take like the logic and the framework of corporate culture, it's like, no, fucking persevere, get it done.
Right.
But in reality, what would make you achieve that objective of finishing the project better, being more happy about it, being happier about the result, maybe adding some new colors or like new yarn that you weren't expecting to throw in there. In order to do that, take a fucking walk.
Yeah.
Remove yourself from that, right? And so like if you're banging your head against a wall and you're like, I can't make this hour meeting, don't. Go outside. Like distraction can be, it's not described this way, but it can be a really helpful tool for productivity.
Yes. Completely agree.
Yeah. It can be detrimental if you're like distracted from like your job and you need to get something done, right? Like a phone distraction is different than like an intentional nature distraction that's like grounding you.
Completely.
Yeah.
Yes. As someone who like is a business owner, has had to be very self-motivated and work for myself for the past several years. Yeah, it's hard to kind of find that balance. And like that mindset has still carried over where, gosh, like when I was younger and I would like get straight A's, it wasn't like I necessarily wanted that internally or that it came with a lot of integrity, if that makes sense. Cause like I would email teachers and be like, oh, like I'm sick, I can't do this assignment, and I would get an extension. I wasn't fucking sick. I was just lying because I like wanted more time to get it done, or I was whatever. And so same like when I had a 9 to 5, I would like call out sick, like I'm not sick, I just don't want to work, or like I just don't want to do whatever I'm doing. And even still, I have to wrestle with myself because of that being so ingrained in me, where like I'll have a call with my students and I just like don't feel like doing it, and I'm just like, oh, I just want to like be like, oh, like sorry guys, I'm not going to make the call, but I'm like, I have to show up because I'm leading the call. Like I am in charge of this thing. Like I have to show up. And I just think it's been an interesting balance between when do I actually genuinely need a break and when do I need to have boundaries? And if I can't show up for something, when do I make that call?
Yes.
And also being like, there's a lot of like internal shit that I need to get rid of that literally just holds me back because I am not in the mood or like am just feeling lazy or whatever. And like pushing through that is really different from pushing through being burnt out or like actually being sick or like things like that. And when you work for yourself, trying to navigate all that is actually like really hard.
Right. Because it's a weird like combination of you have more responsibility and more freedom.
Yeah.
And so it's like,
Yeah.
well, I'm responsible for the success of these students and therefore I must make the call. But it's also I'm running the show, so like I can call
I
out.
could call out.
Yeah. And so
Yeah.
it's like finding that balance because you also have to consider your own mental health, right? Like it's very important that you recognize if there's a moment where you need to, uh, take time to cut out, you got to
Mhm.
cut out.
Yeah.
But only do that when it's appropriate. So you talked a little bit about like pursuing a life. I think it was also on your website. Like pursuing.
Yeah, you scoured my website.
I did. I did. I stalked your Instagram. I stalked your website. That's
Good
about all I
prep
can
work. Nice
find.
job.
Yeah. Oh, and your podcast. I listened
Ah,
to a
nice.
couple of episodes in the podcast. Yeah, yeah. I don't like prepare in the sense of like, I don't know. Like I don't come up with I come up with like general questions, of course.
Yeah.
But the conversation tends to be a little bit more organic. But if there's little nuggets that I see, I'm like, we should touch on this.
Yeah.
And one of the things I saw was like living a life you love, something like that.
Mhm.
Why does that matter to you? Like, why is that something that you care about and you want others to appreciate?
Oh, God. Literally just because of how I grew up. I was just like so depressed for so much of my life
Mm,
because I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I wanted. I was not living a life that was in alignment with who I was. And it was soul sucking. Literally, like, it was just horrible. And from like how I was raised to, working a 9 to 5, just doing that my whole life. I don't like, I literally have had this conversation with people where I'm like, I don't know if I would still be here if I had stuck with that. Like, I would have such lows that I was just like, I don't want to fucking be alive because what is the point of all this? Like, I just was living a life that I didn't like, but I didn't know any different.
mhm.
And I think so many people live that every day where they're just like, I don't want to be working this job. It's soul sucking. I hate it. Or I don't want to be doing this thing. I don't want to be living in this place. But they don't know. They don't know any different. And they don't know that it's like actually really possible to get out of that and that it's typically easier than you think it is. It's really just mental. Like that's the hardest part is like mentally convincing yourself that it's okay to leave and like that whole side of it. But in terms of your external reality, it's actually really easy to change. So easy to change your external reality. And that is what I am like really passionate about helping people do is just changing their external reality.
Mm.
Because when you start to change your external reality, then you can be like, okay, this can happen for me. Literally one of my students yesterday like posted in our Slack channel and was like, I got my highest paying deal yet. And she was like, I just still can't believe that like I'm getting paid for this. Like I can't believe this is like real and that like this is actually happening. And she's like, I'm getting paid more to film this video than I did for like, a couple hours of work at my job. She's like, it's just mind blowing to me. And I like read that and smiled so big because I was like, oh, yes. Like, it's just cool to see those mental shifts of, oh, this is possible for me. And that's what I'm just so passionate about helping people do.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. I want to put a little bookmark in the it's crazy that you can make money doing X because this is a topic I want to discuss in more detail. But before that, I'm curious what, potentially advice or encouragement might you have for those who feel really stuck who feel like they don't know that there's another option. They may not be aware how stuck they really are. Do you have any words of advice or encouragement for those people?
Yeah. Uh, I know what it feels like, and I know that it can feel really just shitty. Like, it's such a shitty place to be in, and like a shitty way to feel, and a shitty way to live. And honestly, just go meet new people. Put yourself in new situations. That is always what gets me out of my small world and my small mindset. Go talk to people. And if you are too nervous to go like talk to people and meet new people, I get it. I used to be so introverted, which you wouldn't really know now, but I used to be so scared of like talking to people. And it started with just finding people on the internet that I really related to, watching their life and being like, whoa, like, that's so cool that they're doing that and like they're living that life. And there's so many more people out there than you think, like just doing cool shit and doing probably exactly what you want to do. I hosted a webinar yesterday, and I always do this like journal prompt with my students. And whenever I like host a webinar where we do a future self journal prompt, and I'm like, write as if you are, writing in your journal a year from now, and kind of everything you're currently working towards has worked out. What does your life look like? And I want you to like journal that out. And they'll put it in the chat, and everybody's looked so similar. Like a lot of people were like, oh, I moved abroad, or I live in a van and I'm with my partner and I'm doing XYZ. And like a lot of them just looked so similar. And I was like, see, like we all of us want this same thing. And there are so many people who this is their reality. Like it's not a crazy reality to move abroad or to buy a van. I know so many people who have done that. And so just like putting yourself in situations where you're seeing, oh, like there's so many other people who want this too. This isn't maybe so crazy. Or this person that I follow on social media lives in a van. Like, that's really cool. I'm going to go find some other van lifers. Just literally opening your mind to possibility will start to be a catalyst for you getting the courage to change your external reality. And that's always kind of what it's come down to for me, is like finding other people as inspiration. So whether that's in your everyday life, meeting people that really inspire you, or online, like looking to people who inspire you, that is such a big catalyst for getting out of where you are and just like seeing what's possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. I love that. I think any time you expand your perspective, you're gonna be able to, one, grow, but also like just feel like a sense of relief.
Yeah.
I think because I feel like in expanding your perspective, it almost seems like the opposite would happen. But what really often happens is like you realize how much more similar you are to others. And anytime you get that feeling of like, I'm not alone, that can sometimes be enough of that encouragement that gets you to, over the hump, whatever that hurdle may be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. And we only know what we know. We only know what we know. We only know what we were raised on. We only know what's in our immediate circle. And it's on you to do research, to meet new people, to, like that's on you.
Yeah.
You have to actively work to change your external reality. That doesn't just happen.
Yep.
Sometimes it does by chance, but not often. Usually it's because you are being intentional about it. And I think just most people walk through life very unintentionally because they're like, oh, well, this is all there is. And it literally just takes some research to be like, oh, no, there's way more than I thought out there. Like, I could go down that rabbit hole forever.
Well, this is an open platform for that. So the concept of money has come up recently in my life.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love it. I love talking about money.
Okay. Have you heard of Lewis Howes?
No.
Okay. So he's got a book called Make Money Easy, which over there next to that little wine thing. Yeah. That's like the jacket. Cause I
Okay.
always take books out of the jacket when I read them.
Oh, nice.
I'm so like anal about keeping all my belongings. Like I'll annotate books, but I don't like them to have any like clear, like I'll dog ear them too,
Yeah.
but I don't like them to be like messed up.
That's so funny. I mean, yeah, just looking at your apartment, I can tell you're very like neat.
Yeah, very, very neat. Anyway, the point is that that jacket houses a book that is over there that I'm currently reading, and it's called Make Money Easy, and it's mostly about like fixing your money wounds. So like, I think you have a religious background, I have a religious background, like it's easier for, it's harder for a rich man to get into into
Yes.
heaven than a poor man or than a camel to go through the eye of a needle. And so that I think has definitely caused some issues and I think what I'm coming to learn from that is actually not that it's a matter of, it's not like a rich man, I don't think in that context is defined as someone with a lot of money. I think it's defined as someone who hoards their money. It's someone who, if you die and let's say you and I both have $1 billion each, right? I think if we choose to deploy that capital well and die with nothing, we're not rich people who can't go to heaven. I mean, I believe in heaven, but that aside,
Yeah.
um, I think that's kind of what I'm coming to learn from it. But the point of bringing this up is that I think I've learned that the way that I've perceived money has sort of been painted by a very American, very capitalist, very Christian, specifically Catholic Christian lens. And those all have their own like sets of principles that have created trauma and wounds around money in my life. And now what I'm coming to learn is like, when all of those things have just created this like very specific lens with which to view money. And now I'm looking at people who are doing user generated content, people who are doing podcasts. And it's like, how is that a way to make money? And you said it's crazy that when you're in Portugal on, a beautiful resort, you're like, I can't believe I'm working and making money while I'm doing this. And your client or, student who said, I can't believe I just, made more money filming this video than I did at my corporate job. So I think just the idea of money as like this very scarce resource and something that you have to like grind for and like you must hate is just a lie that's been fabricated by many, 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 many people, many institutions, whatever. It's
Billionaires,
billionaires. I mean, it's not
politicians.
only those people though. I mean, it's everything, right? It's also like, priests who take a vow of poverty. They've sort of just continued to um, reinforce this lie. So I'm curious, like, how and like when did your shift of money change? Was it something that sort of catalyzed that shift away from corporate, or was it something that coincided with it? Or maybe the third option would be, was it something that happened only after you started to really make money doing what you love, and then that changed your perception?
Yeah. Ugh, money is like it's such a hard topic because I even still have a very like tumultuous relationship with money. And it's been something I've had to very actively and intentionally like work on over the past several years of making money and having businesses. And it's such I don't know, it's such a nuanced topic and conversation, but there's absolutely money wounds. I definitely grew up in that same position of like people who have money are bad. And if you are rich, that means you're greedy. And like, you just have this mindset around what it means to be somebody who has money and what it means to be rich. And so I always saw that as a bad thing. Like I really did. And I didn't really have any examples in my life of like really good, generous people that I looked up to who like had a lot of money. And so in my world, I'm just like, oh, that doesn't exist. And right, all we hear about in the news is like horrible billionaires. So it's like money just equals bad.
Yeah.
Right. And it's taken a lot of work to kind of undo the stories that I have around money. And also to your point of like, I don't know, there's different ways that you can make money, right? So you put in a certain output and like per hour you get paid whatever. And then you create a service and you can sell your service. There's different ways that you can make money. And I've experienced that evolution over time from like having an hourly job to then having a salary to then working freelance and getting paid like retainers to doing content creation, getting paid that way. And then now like getting paid for my intellectual property. And I'm not, I don't get paid hourly now. I get paid whenever a student signs up for my program. And like a lot of that is passive. And that has been a mind fuck as well, because I mean, there's so many layers here, but like, yes, all the money stories that I believe, also the fact that I'm a woman, like all of these things that are coming down on me saying, you don't deserve to get paid money passively. That's not fair. That's not right. That's not how it should be. And your worth and your value is based on the amount of work that you are putting in.
Mm-hmm.
That I still believe that. And it's like really hard to not and like to get out of that mindset, because I really care about like helping people and doing the most that I can, and like, and also how people perceive me. It's so hard, especially when I'm like someone who has a public platform, and people all the time will be in my comment section being like, well, if you were making so much like good money with UGC, why are you now coaching? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, because coaching is more like I can grow my income more with coaching. Like that to me just makes sense, because I'm like, yes, UGC is still an exchange of services for money, right? Whereas coaching and selling an online program and doing those things, like you can make that a lot more passive. And so many people, again, just see that as negative. Mm. And it's really hard to get out of that mindset. And it's still hard for me.
Yeah.
It's still hard for me to like have that not be a mind fuck.
And it sounds similar to, I'm sure you get this all the time, but people who are like, oh man, I wish I could, travel as much as you. I wish. And I'm like, bitch, you fucking can.
Yeah, you can.
Everyone can.
Yeah.
Like I mean, I'm not going to claim that, no one enters the world on the same exact footing. But in terms of your ability to create a life that you want, in terms of, and really what it comes down to is just like the conviction and determination that it's the life you want, right? Mm. If you really want it and you actually want to travel, you travel. But there's a quote that I'll botch, but it's like, values aren't what you speak, it's where you spend your time, right? And so it's like, if you say that you value travel and then you haven't done more than like one, trip outside of your state or outside of your like a couple mile radius in the last year, it's like, you don't value travel. You may be curious about it. You might be interested in that being something, it might be like knocking on the door, but you can't tell me you value that, because that's not what your energy is illustrating. Mm-hmm. But it sounds similar with money. It's like people are like, well, it's not fair that you can, have this passive income. It's like, why? Because you chose not to have passive income. So you want to take that from me, but you have just as much opportunity to earn, passive income.
Yeah, that's what's crazy. I'm like, and I'm such a firm believer that competition is basically non-existent. Competition is made up.
Yeah, collaboration exists. Yeah.
Competition is a made up thing that the patriarchy needed, and we don't really need it that much anymore.
Yeah.
There's so much money to go around. There's so much opportunity to go around.
Yes.
And
well, even economically speaking, competition doesn't exist because what's stronger than a monopoly? A duopoly. So like with Uber and Lyft, they would not exist without each other. There's a kind of this concept that's come up about like following your heart, or like listening to like your gut, intuition, heart, whatever you want to call it. And there's a quote that something along the lines of like, if you follow your heart, like you'll never make the wrong decision, something like that. And I think one thing I've personally struggled with a lot in the past is like doing things that were sensible and like logical, and sounds to me like you did a lot of that. So I feel like, probably part of the shift that took place in your career, or that enabled the shift in your career, was like you recognizing that there's a lot of these decisions that are being made of like a place of like, this is what I've been told, this is what seems like the right thing to do, the smart thing to do. So I guess firstly, how have you sort of shifted your mindset to focus more on things that are coming from, your gut, your intuition? And then do you feel like there's some practices that you've explored that have helped you dig deeper into that to make sure you never revert back to a different place?
Yeah, I just got curious.
Mm.
I think that intuition is just curiosity without fear. And it's literally just being curious about things and following that. Because I think a lot of people, instead of curiosity, they just have judgment or they have disbelief or they have all of these things, right? And instead, what if we just asked, huh, like that's interesting. I want to know more about that. Or like
Mm.
asking questions about something, or you know, when you're walking down the street and you see a store and like for whatever reason, like you're curious, like, oh, like what's in there? Or like what was that sign or whatever. Your typical self would just be like, whatever, just keep walking. Your intuitive self goes, let's pause and I'm gonna go look.
Mm.
Like it's literally just curiosity that you actually act on. That's what I feel like intuition is. And that's very much how I got in touch with it, because I think for most of my life, I just didn't really allow myself to be very curious because I was like, this is the path. So like anything other than that, like is not what I'm meant to be doing. It's not right, whatever, because I just saw things as like black and white.
Mm.
And then I realized so much of the world is very gray and I just had to get curious. And so once I started following that, God, I mean, it just led me to like everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a part of that too that's like leaning into the childlike charm,
Yeah.
like joy and just like the innocence. And because like really like innocence is sort of like tied to that curiosity, because there's no judgment associated with that thing, whether it's a store or someone's belief, someone's perspective in the world. It's like really the innocence is where you're able to look at it without judgment. I don't know what this is. I don't care what it is. I am just curious.
Yeah. And think about it too with like meeting people. Um, like you're at a coffee shop and you see someone reading a book and the cover like intrigued you, but you know, you just kind of saw it and you were like curious about it, but you know, just walked away because there's that fear of like, oh, is this going to be an awkward social situation? Are they going to think I'm hitting on them? Or like, you know, like there's all these things that you can make up in your mind about why you shouldn't ask that person what book they're reading
Yeah.
or like what the book is about or if they liked it or if they recommend it. Right. And following your intuition would be like, just follow that curiosity without the fear, without the judgment, and just like live that, because that's just what holds so much of us, or so many of us, back from meeting new people, meeting romantic interests, meeting new friends, traveling to new places, getting book recommendations. Like that's literally, it's just fear that holds us back. And also the lack of curiosity. So I feel like those two paired, it's like A, get more curious, and then B, like get over the fear of the repercussions of that curiosity, like if it's acted out, if that makes sense.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that like living, I hate the phrase like curiosity killed the cat. I hate that because it's so wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that would be such a sad way to live life.
Right.
Just like,
Imagine.
yeah. I think one thing in my life that's shifted that perspective and made me just want to lean into my curiosity more is like going to like music festivals and things where there's just like very clearly intentional, weird places that are created to spawn that curiosity. It's just like, what is that? That's interesting. Let's look over there. But I feel like the world can be that, right? Like the world is truly the best playground, but we're sort of discouraged from play once you get to high school. There's no recess in high school. You know, you might take PE or like some sort of performance training class or whatever, but like you don't, you get to a point when you're a teenager and it's just like, all right, all fun is done.
Yeah.
No more recess, no more play. Like, what do you mean? The world is a playground. It's so much better than like a man-made manufactured playground. Like, you've been to rock slides in Costa Rica? That's a hell of a lot better than any water slide I've been to. And
Yep.
I fuck with water slides. But it's just nothing that beats it. That's something that's just like this naturally occurring
Yeah.
playground.
I think people have this fear that curiosity, and I feel like I had this growing up, like from a religious perspective, like curiosity is bad because if you just follow all your whims, you're gonna like be led down a bunch of like bad paths, and B, you're like never really going to commit to anything or know who you are. But I think it's such the opposite. Like once you actually get curious, you really, really are able to tune into your intuition. And it's not like every path you go down is going to be the path for you, or that like everything you explore out of your curiosity, you're going to even enjoy or like or resonate with. But that's what's great too, is because you find what you don't resonate with, you find what you don't like. And that's really important too. And that takes just like being in tune with yourself, being in tune with your body, being in tune with your intuition. Like all of this plays so well into each other. But like following your curiosity doesn't mean it's just like you're going off on every whim and you can't commit to things, and you're just like trying everything. It's like that's not necessarily what it is. It's just finally understanding, because of experiencing so much, like what you actually do like and what you don't like, or who you are and who you're not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think just having that, like, I think most people have a voice in the back of their head, some louder than others, of like, what if I like that?
Yeah.
What if I tried that thing? Yeah. But it's hard sometimes.
It is.
Yeah. But it gets easier, right? I feel like once you start to like listen to that little bit of intrigue, of curiosity, then like every repetition that you have becomes increasingly easier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does. Like I said, like I used to be super introverted and just like scared to meet people, scared to talk to people. Like I would never go to an event by myself. Now, like, I'll just show up to stuff by myself. Like, I just joined the Denver Gay and Lesbian Flag Football League. And I was just like, why not? Like, that sounds fun. Did I know anybody? I showed up to the registration party, didn't know a single person, but I just like walked in and was like, hey. Like, and you just meet people like,
Yes.
and I would have never done something like that 5 years ago. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
But it's just from just doing small things over time. Now I'm just so much more comfortable in who I am. And also I know if I walked into a space where I knew, oh, this isn't for me, I could leave. I would walk out of it. But oftentimes you're going to find somebody or something in a space that you can resonate with and connect with.
Yeah. And there really is like that confidence that builds from repetition as well. In fact, I heard a little snippet from a podcast the other day that was basically said it's impossible to have confidence in something you've never done. You can, sort of persevere through it and do it, but like confidence comes sort of by definition from having experienced other things. So if you've never spoken in public, you're not going to be confident about speaking in public. You could get over the hump and do it, but until you do it, you won't have confidence for that thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same way like in my business. If I was never a UGC creator, I would have no confidence teaching people how to become a UGC creator. Like I just because I don't know. I don't know the ins and outs. I don't know how like all of the things that come with personal experience. And yeah, it's like it's the same thing.
You mentioned there's like with exploring those curiosities and sort of peeling back the layers of your own onion, there's going to be some things that you like and there's some things that you don't like. I'm curious, what have been some of those surprises for both the things you've liked and the things that you didn't like?
Yeah, that's a good question. I gotta think about that. I feel like in general, a really big surprise over the past maybe 3 years has just been realizing how much I actually like love being around people. And that sounds weird, but again, I was just like so introverted for so much of my life. And I love being around people. I love being around people. I get energy from people. I love yapping. I love just like, I don't know, going and meeting new people.
Do you think there is something that changed that like do you truly believe you were previously more introverted and now you're becoming more extroverted? Or do you think like the people you were around historically sort of made you didn't resonate with them, so you tended to go inward? Yeah, it's that.
I think it's a mix of all of it.
Okay.
I do. Yeah, I think it's a mix of everything. I think a lot of it is just like I've grown a lot of confidence in myself. So I have no problem like walking up to people saying hi, being on a podcast, like this doesn't like intimidate me anymore. And again, that just comes with practice where like, yeah, that would have scared the shit out of me 5 years ago. Like I would be really nervous to do that. But as you kind of just gain confidence in yourself, again, by just doing it, then it just becomes easier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like that's kind of the point of life is like we have a finite number of years. We have this weird little suit that we're wearing that, who knows what it's for, what its purpose is really, but why not, make the most of it and appreciate it as best as possible.
Yeah. One of my favorite authors, Brianna Wiest, I actually don't know how you pronounce her last name, but she has a podcast episode where she says, the things that you struggle with most are the things that you are here on this earth to master.
Yes. Love that.
And I love that because it's so true. Yeah. And that's all about stepping out of your comfort zone. It's like I wasn't always good at public speaking or like holding conversations like this. And now I understand like, oh my God, I was literally born to do this. I love this. And I struggled with it and it took time to like really master it and learn it, whatever. And then you get to live in that. You get to embody that. You get to teach that to other people. You get to inspire other people. And I'm like, that's the meaning of life. Like there's so many things that are hard or that you're not naturally inclined to. And one of the like goals of life is to dedicate yourself to those things and to learn how to be more emotionally mature, to better interact with others, all these things that maybe you're not naturally inclined to do. It's actually such a gift and so beautiful to like be able to dedicate so much of your life to learning those things.
Yes. There's a buddy of mine. He said that he recently had a conversation about meaning of life and, the normal,
super normal convos,
super basic Monday night conversations. And he was saying that he thinks that our souls take on this humanly form and we predetermine a lesson we want to learn. So if let's say the number one lesson is to, maybe learn patience, we sort of predetermine that lesson. And then when we are incarnated as human beings, we forget our prior lives. We forget our like soul. We lose sort of that sense of identity and any previous life and learnings we've had before we're born in this world. And then we go through our life with the sole purpose of learning that. And he takes a step further. That. I love it too. And he takes a step further and says like, given what's happening in this world, he thinks that the lesson we're supposed to learn on earth is love and service of others. And like, that is the overarching lesson that everyone who has chosen to incarnate on earth is choosing that lesson. And some of us learn it and some of us don't. And you got to keep on going until you learn that lesson. And I think that's such like an optimistic view of this world.
Yeah.
It's really beautiful.
No, I like that. Yeah. It's interesting because I don't feel like I have these kinds of conversations very often. Like, I don't know, like the meaning of life or like bigger existential things like that. And I think there's multiple reasons for that. One, I think is like I grew up so much having to have conversations about like what's the meaning of life and where do we go after this and what do we, like there was so much of that in religion. But I think another part of it is like I'm so busy living it. Like I don't know, like I just don't have these kinds of conversations often, and I do enjoy them when I have them, but like I've never been someone who's like super into reading philosophy books or like stuff like that because I just feel like I learn so much of those principles naturally, like just living life. And then I love having conversations with someone like you who I just think like has these conversations a lot and like maybe has some of the more like, I don't know, philosophical like mindset for stuff and just being like, yes, we can like totally hold a conversation and talk about these things because like I live it and like I understand it and I know it and we can have these conversations and I just think it's cool to like I don't know have those different like I don't know I feel like we're different but yeah yeah
sort of thing 100%. I think like at the end of the day you seem like someone who lives a very intentional life right and you don't need to read a philosophy book in order to come to that realization and in order to understand what is a meaningful life to you.
Yeah.
And I think there's, tying this all back to the, where we started, for people who I think are just going through the motions, who don't really understand, like they're not going through the mental gymnastics of figuring out what is my purpose. Cause like you definitely had to ask some of those questions for you to even get to where you are here.
Certainly.
Yeah. Like you wouldn't have gotten to a place where you're having a conversation like this, or where you took a path that was, very different than the one that was kind of thrust upon you as a child, and adolescent and things of that like. So you definitely had to like go through some of those questions, but perhaps you've come to a peace with it in the current moment where you don't feel like there's a need to dig deeper.
Yeah, I just think, and this topic and so many other topics, I think people get so caught up in the thinking that like they just don't do and they don't live, and it's like with anything in life, we overthink so much, and then you're not actually like living it. And for me, I'm just like, I just want to shake people and just be like, put the book down, go hug your friends.
Yes. I think that resonates. You get it, because I've definitely been on like this bit of like a woo kind of like grind over the last couple of months, and I'm catching myself. I'm like, all right, Anthony, you got to pick your head up out of this woo shit. Not that it's bad, but like it gets to a point where it's you start to like that's what you see as reality rather than like, and I mean, who really knows what reality is, right? But like, is this skin suit reality?
Who knows?
And there's so much of the world that is like perhaps like palpable but not observable, I believe, and I think a lot of other people do as well. But I love that point. They're like, sometimes you just got to pick your head up and like get it out of the dirt and just look at like, all right, I'm also a human being. Even if I believe, let's assume that I believe I am this spiritual entity that was incarnate in this body, and I'm here to learn a lesson. Well, great. Fucking learn a lesson, right? You're not going to learn that lesson by like thinking about like, who is God? What is this thing out here? Right? You're going to learn that lesson by like going through the process and learning to love life, for sure.
Completely agree.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a great place to stop it. Before we go, do you have anything that's been on your mind, on your heart, that you want to just get out? You feel like called to a release that you want to share?
Something I've been really trying to live into lately is more intentionality. And that's playing out in like my business life for sure right now. I've gone through like so many evolutions of, I don't know, what I'm doing, what I'm teaching, what I'm selling, and I get very in my head about all of it. And I've gone back and forth for a while of like, am I meant to be a UGC coach long term? Is this what I'm supposed to do long term? Blah, blah, blah. And I've had to like sit with myself lately and be like, dude, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're doing this 3 years from now or not. It's what you're doing right now. So do it. Right. And it's like, if while you're doing this, you have some like other great business idea you want to pursue, great, do that. But like right now, like you're in this, so be in it. And I have had to kind of check myself to be like, hey, I know this is work. I know this is a business. I know you're not going to enjoy every single second of it, because nobody enjoys every single second of their work. That's normal. That's okay. I'm someone who can be kind of flighty. So like if I like feel bored or like things get hard, I can be like, I gotta go. And so like learning to just sit with it and be like, hey, like it's okay that this is hard. It's okay that this is maybe a little boring right now. Like that is normal. That's literally life. And finding ways that I can find my way back to like loving something a lot. And for me, that is always intentionality, and it's always connection with people. And so like I just launched a new program yesterday for my business, and I'm going into it very like, I want this to be so intentional. Like I want to literally, there's like 25 spots for the program. And what I want to do is I want to send like a physical gift to like everybody who signs up for the program, right? I want to send them maybe some sort of like outdoor thing, or like maybe a notebook, or, I want to like make it very intentional where they feel seen. I was reading a journal entry that I did when I was at that resort in Mexico. And I was like, one of the biggest takeaways from being here is that people love to feel seen and they love to feel known. Like I am at this resort and the people who work at the restaurant, they know my name. They know my normal coffee order. They know that I like my sparkling water with my lemon at every meal. Like they know me. And that makes me feel like so seen and so known. It makes me love this place. It makes me want to tip them more. And I'm like, how can I carry that into my business? Because it's not only going to positively affect the people I'm serving, it's going to positively affect me as well, because I'm going to be more invested. I'm going to be like investing into these people as well. And so that's kind of something I'm focusing on doing right now, is just like really bringing intentionality and connection into my business. So I guess let this be kind of a call out to anyone. If you're feeling like stale or a little bit like you're missing some passion, I promise if you just like have a little bit of intentionality and make it a point to try to make the people in your life feel as seen and heard and loved as possible, like it can bring so much more like joy and passion back into your life or your business or anything you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. Intentions are really powerful.
So powerful.
Like, and like, even if there's a story of like Johnny Cash, who was given someone wrote a song that he was going to perform, and it was sort of intended, when it was proposed to him, it was, maybe I should say, it was articulated as a love song to like a woman.
Okay.
And he read the lyrics and really struggled with performing it. And so he went to his producer, Rick Rubin, and said, "Hey, I'm really struggling with this song. I can't make it work for me." And Rick looked at the song and he said, "What if instead of about a woman, instead of love in a romantic sense, it were written about God?" And so Johnny Cash read the whole lyrics again. He's like, "I can do it." And so by changing the intention of the song, like, who knows what the writer wanted? And we as listeners, it's not clear when we listen to the song who, based on my understanding of the song, is that it's not clear in the lyrics who it's intended to be about. It could be about a familial love. It could be about a brotherly love. It could be about a love of God. It could be a love of, a romantic love. And so I think when you change the intention, when you change the meaning behind something, like, it really changes the experience that you have with that.
So much.
Yeah.
Like so much. It's so much about how we perceive things, and so much of it is about like our mindset and how we see things versus how they actually are. Yeah. Again, like it's so much about our internal reality, but
right.
Yeah.
I mean, which kind of is the only reality, right? What we see and how we take from things is really what we experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
Well, thank you so much.
This was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. This was a great conversation. I had a lot of fun.
Cool. Glad you enjoyed it.
Yay.